The fall of the Celtic tribes across the British Isles can be attributed primarily to two major factors: their deep-seated intertribal rivalries and their failure to seek alliances or recruit manpower from continental Europe. While internal conflict among the Anglo-Saxons, Vikings and Normans also existed, these groups were able to form strategic alliances that ultimately led to the successful subjugation of the Celts. The Celts' inability to unify against a common enemy, coupled with their reluctance to seek external support, left them vulnerable to repeated invasions. This essay explores how these dynamics shaped the eventual downfall of the Celtic tribes in the British Isles. Hyper-tribalism, the Celts' fatal flaw. The most significant factor that contributed to the Celtic defeat was their extreme tribalism. Celtic tribes, including the Picts, Scots, Irish and Welsh, consistently fought one another rather than uniting to repel outside threats. The Picts were particularly known for their aggressive behaviour, frequently raiding neighbouring Celtic tribes, thus fostering distrust and disunity among the various tribes in the British Isles. This internal conflict was so intense that the only notable alliance against the Picts came from Irish tribes, who eventually subdued the Picts and erased their identity entirely. Rather than forging a broad alliance against the emerging Anglo-Saxon threat, the Celts remained locked in bitter conflicts, depleting their strength and making them easy prey for external invaders. The case of King Vortigern exemplifies how intertribal rivalry weakened the Celtic response to external threats. Faced with the persistent raids of the Picts, Vortigern, the ruler of a southern Celtic kingdom, invited the Saxon brothers Hengist and Horsa to assist him. However, Vortigern's reliance on foreign assistance was a direct result of his inability to unite his fellow Celtic kings in defence of his kingdom. Once Hengist and Horsa recognized this weakness, they seized the opportunity, overthrowing Vortigern and initiating the Anglo-Saxon invasions of Britain. This episode highlights the Celts' tendency to turn to outsiders, not as equals or allies, but out of desperation, further diminishing their position in their own lands. The Welsh, a missed opportunity for unity. The Welsh Alliance, known as Y Hen Ogledd, provides another example of how intertribal rivalries led to the eventual downfall of the Celts. Initially, the alliance had success against the Anglo-Saxons, even driving them into a fortress at Lindisfarne. At this critical juncture, the Welsh could have secured a decisive victory. However, internal divisions once again undermined their efforts. The assassination of the Welsh leader Urien by a fellow Welshman, Morcant, triggered another wave of infighting. As the Welsh turned against one another, the Anglo-Saxons regrouped, reclaimed their lost territory, and united the southern kingdom of Deira with the northern kingdom of Bernicia, forming Northumbria. This failure to maintain unity among the Celtic tribes in the face of an external threat paved the way for the consolidation of Anglo-Saxon power in Britain. After the fall of Y Hen Ogledd, the Celts never again formed a unified front against the Anglo-Saxons. More critically, the Celts did not seek military assistance from continental Europe, despite facing a growing and united Anglo-Saxon alliance. The Anglo-Saxons, on the other hand, continually replenished their ranks with fresh troops from across the Channel. This strategic miscalculation severely limited the Celts' ability to wage effective warfare against an increasingly organized and well-supported enemy. The Vikings and Normans, superior recruitment and strategic alliances. The invasions of the British Isles by the Vikings and Normans further underscore the importance of external alliances and the availability of manpower. The Vikings, who began raiding the British Isles during the 8th century, succeeded not only due to their military prowess, but also because they had a virtually endless supply of young men eager to join their expeditions. While the Anglo-Saxons, Irish, Scots and Welsh continued to fight amongst themselves, the Vikings took full advantage of their disunity. The Vikings' strategy of repeated raids and the establishment of colonies further weakened the Celts, whose internal conflicts prevented any coordinated response. The Norman invasion of England under William the Conqueror in 1066 marked the final blow to the Celts' hopes of regaining control over the British Isles. The Normans, a hybrid of Scandinavian and French origins, did not act alone. They were supported by Flemish and other European troops. Their ability to recruit soldiers from across Europe gave them a decisive advantage in manpower. This stands in stark contrast to the Celts, who remained isolated in their resistance, failing to seek external allies. The Normans' broader view of power, which included forming alliances beyond their own ranks, proved instrumental in their success. The combination of Norman, Flemish, Anglo-Saxon and other European forces overwhelmed the disunited Celtic tribes. The strategic failures of the Celts. The failure of the Celts to form meaningful alliances, either among themselves or with external powers, was a key factor in their downfall. While the Anglo-Saxons, Vikings and Normans had internal conflicts, they also demonstrated a willingness to collaborate for mutual gain. The Celts, in contrast, remained locked in intertribal rivalries, leaving them unable to muster a coordinated defense against external threats. Furthermore, the Celts' refusal to recruit troops from Europe, despite their dwindling numbers, put them at a severe disadvantage. In every subsequent conflict, from the Viking raids to the Norman conquest, the Celts faced an increasingly unified and well-supported enemy. The Normans' ability to recruit soldiers from across Europe, combined with their more inclusive approach to governance, allowed them to overwhelm the Celts. After William the Conqueror's victory, the Celtic tribes faced a new political reality in which they were isolated from the broader European power structure. In contrast, the Normans built alliances with various European forces, cementing their control over the British Isles. The Celts, by comparison, continued to resist any effort to expand their alliances, further ensuring their eventual subjugation. Conclusion. The ultimate defeat of the Celtic tribes in the British Isles can be traced to their entrenched intertribal rivalries and their failure to recruit manpower from continental Europe. While the Anglo-Saxons, Vikings and Normans faced their own internal divisions, they were able to form alliances and recruit external forces, which gave them a decisive advantage. The Celts, on the other hand, remained insular and divided, making them vulnerable to more organized and well-supported invaders. Their inability to see beyond their tribal boundaries and their refusal to seek help from outside Europe ultimately doomed them to defeat, allowing the Anglo-Saxon and Norman forces to dominate the British Isles. The lesson from this period is clear. In warfare, unity and strategic alliances are key to survival, and those who fail to adapt to these realities are destined to fall.